This video is sort of running through the big assignment that is for this class for Education 447 Inclusion Seminar. When you scroll down on the homepage, the landing page, you'll see these different resources with links. So if you click on the Supporting Student Learning assignment, this is your big assignment for me and my portion of your pre-internship. So I'm going to pull up, these are all documents and resources for you, and I'm just going to go through really quickly as a resource for you to come back to if you need this explained again, but I'm going to go over it in class in detail and probably several times as we get closer to, and let me make this bigger, as we get closer to deadlines. So there's different parts to this specific assignment. The first part is all about gathering data, so then you can actually address some prompts that you will see a lot of similarity to when you are doing the EdTPA Task 1 commentary for planning. So the first thing that you're going to do is a part 1 of knowing your learners, is you're going to do the internship IEP /504 compilation. Now, if you have looked at your checklist for 447, one thing that I've asked you to do is to block some time off at the beginning of the semester so you can look at the IEPs or documentation for students who are going to be in your placement. And you're going to do some data gathering. So this is actually a screenshot of the Excel sheet that I have for you available to you. So what you're going to be looking for when you're looking at these IEPs, you can use student initials, you can number them. It might be helpful for you if you use their initials at the very least. That way you're still hiding their identity to a certain extent, but yet it helps you to know who you're talking about. If you want to have students numbered and then keep your key in another place and not keep it in this document, that's perfectly fine as well. What grade are they in? If there's any type of notes as far as student profile, you can add that here. Or this might be information that you can sort of discuss with your IS or your gen ed teacher. The classification, what disability do they have? What are they eligible for? The next column is what is their LRE? Is it the general education classroom? Is it self-contained? Is it pull-out? Pull-out's more the service than the LRE, but a resource room. The next column, do they have related services and who the providers? So this example, this student has speech. And if they had OT, if they have PT, if they have nothing, you can just put an X there. What's the date for their annual IEP review? A lot of them are going to be in the spring. That is another thing that you're being asked to do, that for those of you who are have had 342, that was something that you were asked to do. You can never go to too many IEP meetings. Their tri-date. So when is their next triangle that they're going to have? And then what are the accommodations they have? So there's some of these things that are really important that you know. All of them are important, but like the dates, it's okay if you can't find that, but accommodations are really important. Do they have a behavior plan in place? If they don't, just put an X. If they do, you in the Excel sheet, you can manipulate the columns in the sheet and make it longer so it's not like I did this one, like that column. And then how many hours of service per week? So roughly what, an hour per day is what is maybe a typical amount of time. So this is your first piece, and I've on this first document, and again, you're going to get a copy of this and we're going to talk about it in class, but it is due September 11th. So again, this is something that you want to get right on. The second piece is the learner variability analysis tool. Now, this isn't due until October 2nd. You have to get the first piece done in order to complete this piece. So when I show you the document, we'll talk a little bit more about how you're going to fill it out. We're going to go into depth with that in class. So if you're in class and you're listening, you're going to be fine. So what you can do, and this will make more sense when I show you the tool, is you can put all your students in the document. You can choose 3 students to track who have who maybe they're struggling. If you don't have very many with IEP, start with those students first. But if you don't have 3, you can also use a student that's struggling. The third option is to level the students in your class that you're going to be actually using, and put them in a high, medium, and low as far as maybe their academic performance. Then you randomly choose one from each of those sections or one of those 3 groups. And that's how you can do that in research as well. But that's one way to track 3 students using this tool. Again, this is all written down, but I'll show you the bigger piece. It looks like this, but again, I'll pull that document up in just a moment. So then we get into the meat of this assignment, which is actually writing a commentary. Now, this assignment is to support you in your task 1 planning commentary of just 2 prompts out of the prompts that you do for the EdTPA. So the first prompt 2, is due October 23rd. What you'll do that week or the week after that, following that due date, is you will set up an appointment with me to then conference, and I will give you feedback. Prompt 3 is due November 13th. Same thing, the following week, which I think is the week prior to Thanksgiving break. You'll set up a conference with me. I'll give you feedback. The final submission is December 4th. That is where you are going to take all the feedback that you received from me, and you might, I don't want to muddy the waters, but you might also get feedback from Dr. Ryder and or Dr. Whitaker if they're having you do part of the task 1 commentary piece as well. So prompt 2, and we'll go through these in detail in class, what they mean. But basically you are, the first is you're going to think about all the students that you really did a deep dive into IEPs and 504s. Then your learner variability, you also want to add in other students that, or could add in other students like gifted and talented students, students who maybe are homeless. You're going to really think about the diversity in your classroom. So the first prompt is consider the prior academic learning and prerequisite skills related to the central focus. And we'll talk about what that means. It's basically what skill are you going to be focusing on. You're going to cite evidence of what they know, what they can do, and what they're still learning to do. Where are you going to get that evidence? We're going to talk about it in class, but you're going to get that from your teachers, from your mentoring teachers. So the first thing that you want to do is you do not have to do this, but this is an organizer to sort of get your information together. And then you will actually answer the prompt, which is A up here. Same thing for B. Consider the personal, cultural, and community assets related to the learning segment. That's EdTPA language for your lesson. What do you know about your students' everyday experiences, cultural and language backgrounds, and practices and interests? Another organizer to help you organize your information that you've gathered, and then you'll answer this prompt using, and again, you don't have to use the organizer, it's just there for your support. Then prompt 3, and you'll remember that you're only going to write one at a time and then turn them in. So it sort of breaks it up into a smaller chunk of information or action that you have to take. Prompts 3 has an A, a B, and a C. So it's a little bit more. I'm not sure why this is right here. Should be on the next page, but this is just a checklist of the different parts. All right. Sort of goes through part 2. If you want to know about what I should have, you're going to get a planning rubric, and you'll have access to these documents, these manuals that'll sort of help you know what is being looked for this specific prompts. So I'm going to close that. The learner variability, hold on. Sorry. Well, I have not included the Excel sheet, but I'm going to get that on there. Again, it's pretty much like what's in the directions. This is just a little bit larger. So this is where you're going to pick the students. And again, you can do as many students as you want for each of these, but you have to do at least 3. So you're going to think about these 3 students. What areas of high strength do they have? What kind of academic strengths, emotional strengths, physical strengths? So an example, and I have an example in a packet that you'll get in class. Cognitive actually is academic. That's what we normally think of. Emotional strengths are maybe they are very empathetic to their peers. Physical strengths, they can write a lot because they have a lot of stamina. It's not necessarily they're strong, but thinking of those, maybe they have really good handwriting. The area of needed support. So what are some academic support needs that they have? What are some emotional support needs? Now, try your hardest not to word these as a deficit for the student, but more, for instance, if a student has anxiety, testing anxiety, then an emotional support need is going to be putting supports in place for the student to take tests. Thinking about what are the things you're going to have to do or be thinking about you're going to have to put in place to help what the student is struggling with. And then strong preference is maybe you have students that really like watching videos, that as part of the instruction, they like that piece. Maybe you have students, and again, you only have to do this for 3. This one is a little bit, you don't necessarily, you may not know all of these for all the students at this point. But again, if you're focusing on 3, you can always talk to those students when you're out in the field. So the barriers and solutions. This is where you're going to identify barriers. We'll talk about this in class, but then you're going to identify a UDL solution. And you're going to do that for assessments, instruction, materials, and tasks. This is going to help you when you are, it's just going to help you work with your students overall. Range of variability tool. This is just a resource tool for you. If you are struggling with what are some strengths, what are some areas of support, this has a ton of examples of things that you could have as area of strengths, okay? Under all 3 of the cognitive, emotional, and physical. As well, area of support, okay? So here, give some examples, and you can use that. The UDL barriers, I'm going to skip the LUDIA for just a second. the barriers and solutions, it's a little bit of an older document that I put together a long time ago, but it's still useful, it's still helpful. I've had a lot of students in the past say, oh my gosh, that was so helpful. So basically, you could go to, let's say, instructional material. So all the green is going to be instructional material. So it goes through a printed textbook. What are some potential barriers? What are some potential solutions? So this gives you a place to start if you're not sure or you can't think of anything. And it goes through a lot of different, some of the things might be outdated, like audio tape or CD. Slides or overhead. I don't think anybody has overheads anymore. But again, this is a great tool to start you with. Teaching method, that's all going to be in this salmon color. So that's another resource. The Ludia UDL AI tool. So this is an AI that is specific to Universal Design for Learning. So you type in your question here. What are some ways to provide instruction? Okay. So this goes through and gives you, and it's all aligned to UDL. So this is like a gold mine. It's brand new. I think they just developed it last year. So I'm really excited to share this with you guys. But look, it's not overwhelming, but it gives you some examples and it tells you how it aligns. Now we're going to learn more about the new guidelines, but this is still relevant. Okay. So I wanted to share that with you. And then I'm going to add the Excel sheet on there. Deadlines, just to go over that really fast again. The internship compilation needs to be completed, and you can click on this and go to the submission, and it sort of has these pieces again there for you. So all the deadlines for everything's. And if you happen to notice that something is not in, or it's the button is not working, just reach out and let me know. Okay. So that is an overview and hopefully a good resource for you to look at if you need to, just to rehear some of the things. But again, like I said, we're going to go through this. This will be a whole semester thing.